Hello everybody and welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to create your own mobile application, whether it be for the internet or Android or iOS, completely free. Now, I want to go over a couple of things really quickly because there's going to be a lot of content or subject matter here. So before we get started, as always, again, if you like the content, feel free to like and subscribe. Check out the channel. I have a pretty wide range of different videos that I make and continue to make. And if you have any questions as I'm going through, because again, based on this type of content, I can't cover everything. But if you have any questions, paste them in the comment box below. I'll be more than happy to help any way I can. So jumping in, there are plenty of codeless app development opportunities or programs or websites now that you can use. I'm going to be using something called AppGyver. Now I want to cover a couple of things first because everyone's looking nowadays, especially in the middle of a pandemic, everyone's wanting to try something new, learn something new, create their own apps and their own website. Now one thing that sets a lot of different app builders aside or sets them apart is they all pretty much store this code on a server where you essentially don't have access to it. So if you were to go, for example, and this is one that I have actually used myself, and you were to go to appypie.com, I'll make a video if it is requested on how to use this, what like the pros and cons are, and give you pretty much the same content that I'm making for AppGyver. But if you're interested, put some comments below. I'll be more than happy to make that. So one thing with, for example, AppyPie, if you go through, you use this platform, and you decide that you want to create your own website, and then or your own mobile app, you're going to be paying typically monthly. So although it's free for the first 2 weeks, if you publish it and you never make an edit again, you still have zero functionality. You don't have access to the source code, you don't have access to the file itself because everything is based on their server. So they can just cut access to it when you stop paying, which although it makes sense, it's where AppGyver truly stands out. So you can look at the pricing for AppyPie if you want in your own time. It's a great platform, but it is a little pricey. So what makes AppGyver free? Honestly, this is probably the only one that I've seen that would allow you to do this outside of one other company that uses your app. They advertise on your app and then they split the revenue generated from those advertisements with you. But this platform with AppGyver, I really like how they've done everything. So this is what I'm going to try to make the video on. So if you go to AppGyver, link in the description, and you click pricing, you'll see it's for all indie developers and organizations with less than 10 million in revenue. Then Composer Pro, which is the app builder, is completely free. So essentially they work with some very, very large clients, and because of this, they brought this platform to everyone else for free. So if you are interested, you can essentially just click login or sign up, and then it will bring you to this page. You won't have a project here. You'll have to click create new. But this is a project that I've been working on. So the idea is it would be a company called Surface Level, and they have multiple different platforms. It's kind of like an education platform. So Surface Level IT, the concept would be learning about information technology at the surface level. So it's not the equivalent of going and getting a bachelor's degree or even a certification or taking a class. It's basically just, what is this? It's designed to be similar to what Wikipedia is for many people, but the idea is it's just focusing on giving you a couple paragraphs about different things for people who are interested in maybe going into a career in IT but don't really know what they want to do. Because obviously once you figure out what that career path would be, you would either go to school for it, get certifications, etc. So we will build out a little bit of this app that I'm already started working on, and I'm actually in the process of publishing to Google Play. And then I'll show you how to compile it and export it, and then you'll have a file to upload. So when you click the application itself, it will take you to the last page you're editing. Now, if it takes you, it'll basically take you to a section that looks like this since you won't have any pages built, and you'll just click Add New Page. The page name you can enter here. We can just put test. Okay. And the one thing I want to note, and this is what really sets AppGyver apart from most other application development platforms that are codeless. With AppGyver, you have to develop flows and logic for everything. So for example, you don't have the option to add a new page and it won't automatically build out this directory, so to speak, for you with buttons linked to the home page. You have to do all of that yourself. Now, if you haven't used other platforms before, that may not make sense, but just to let you know, this is probably the closest you're going to get to actually understanding the logic behind what makes your app tick, so to speak. So this is going to be a default blank page. You can choose your viewing options, whether it be iPhone, iPod, iPod Touch, Android, etc. But it will have this iPhone XR by default. Now, you're going to notice a couple of different things. Over here on the left-hand side, you have your component section. There's a component market where you can search, but you have these default components here, which honestly will satisfy what many people are looking for. Then you'll have, honestly, there are so many elements on this page, most of which you won't actually be using, installed by me. Probably not going to be used unless you're going to make a more advanced application. Up here, you'll have launch. We'll be using that shortly. You can adjust the theme. You have this navigation section. You have a header bar, which you can enable and disable, which is basically just going to be right here at the top. By default, it'll say home or whatever page you're at, and it'll have a back button as well. But it doesn't work if you're going to have a title on the page because it would be redundant, so you can enable or disable that. There's a navigation menu that you can enable or disable. And then you have these icons right here, which will actually essentially pop up. If you were to scroll down, they would appear down here at the bottom. And it would basically just be, it almost looks like tab 1, tab 2, and it lets you operate two different pages independently of one another. Now, those features you're only going to see if you're running this application on your phone. So the great thing about AppGyver is if you download their application from Android or iOS store and you log into your account, it'll let you open the app and view it in like a native browser on your phone, so you can see exactly what it looks like in real time when you're making these changes. There's a data section where you can upload files. There's the authentication section, and this is what sets AppGyver apart again, and I'll probably be saying that a lot. So this allows you to enable authentication, like how to have users log in. Now what I trying to explain is with AppGyver, when you create all of this, you're getting the source code and the APK file to download right off the bat. So you can take it, upload it to the store, and let's just say 5 years from now AppGyver disappears, that source code is still yours because it's open source. So once you've uploaded it, if you're not really creating an application that uses something on a server, it will essentially run as long as it needs to until there are updates that don't allow it to run anymore. So basically, if you don't need to have a login page for users and you just want to have a page with like a photo album or a bunch of different content, it can be uploaded and won't need internet access. All of the files will be stored on the user's device when they download the application. An example would be a very simple game. It doesn't need access to the internet as long as you don't have additional updates for it. So for example, something like the older Windows XP computers that may have had Solitaire, there's no need to be hooked to the internet. The functionality is all there. And so that would be the idea for this app. If you want to have that authentication page, when you go through this process, it actually uses this website called bubble.io, which is basically going to be another mobile application developer that would give you the option to have a login page. This is honestly more than an app development platform. They have a ton of different things you can do, but they, on AppGyver, at least at the time of making this video, recommended this as a platform for creating that login section because you have to connect it to that website to make it work, so we won't be doing that here. Then they have a community with a ton of different support. So we're back at our home page. Let's start editing. So we have headline right here. So let's just say this content, what do we want to make this say? So we'll just say here is a test page. And then you click right here. And over here is where you have the content. So I didn't say it when I was editing the title, but every element that you click, you'll see on the right-hand side, you have properties and style. And content was just where I added the content. The one thing I don't really like about AppGyver's platform, is the content section. For example, if you wanted to highlight all of this and delete it, and you wanted to type in the letter D and hit enter and type the letter D, it's just going to appear side by side. There's different changes and edits you have to make to essentially make what would appear logical to us as human beings, looking at this, to make it appear a certain way. So long story short, you do have to play around with things a little bit just to make everything line up and make sense the way that it kind of does in your mind, because the interface is intuitive as it relates to building the app, but not necessarily intuitive to the way that the human mind may perceive things to go or how they should go, essentially. So if we were to type in, hello, this is my test page, and then we were to say, you know what, I want to put in a card. What does this element look like? We just drag and drop. And all of these elements on this side, that's exactly what you do. You click it, hold, and drop. And you'll see we have a slider here, we have a title here, but what if we decide, I want some space between this card and this text? Maybe I should just drag this down, and then you'll notice it flips everything. And the reason is, it just lines up everything with the item before it. So if you want to have some space in between certain elements, you have a couple choices. You can click the item and go over to Style, and you'll notice you have a ton of different options. So you have dimensions and position and advanced properties. So you'll also see this shared style. So if we go to dimensions and position, you actually have margins and padding options, text alignment where you can decide what lines up with what. Now, this is one way. You can choose positioning and padding and adjust where this element sits. However, the easiest route would be to grab a container from the layout section and throw it in as a space. Now, once you post or publish this app, this rectangular outline disappears, and all that you see is the space that this generates. Now, if you want to see what this looks like in real time, bear in mind that you have to click Save, and once you click Save, it will appear in the AppGyver app for your phone. So, this little box around hello, this is my page disappears when you click on a different element. And if you notice over here, you have a tree as well. So this screen is set up essentially as to in what you would need in about 4 to 5 parts. You have your basic element section that has a marketplace where you can search for new items, your app in the middle, your settings for whatever element or function or whatever it is that you're working on, and then your app tree, or the tree for the page. So you have your page layout. When you click that, you'll have your settings, your property, and your style. When you click title, you'll notice that this element is highlighted. So you can use this tree to select every individual item if you would like, or you can select them exactly as they appear over here, and it will select the item as well. So this shows you the order that everything is laid out, and also gives you the option to edit them. And when you scroll down, once you've selected an item on the property section, you have the ability to delete it as well. Now, once you make a change to the web page or the app, you'll see you have to click Save in order to jump to a new page. I would recommend saving frequently because there is a history so that you can do a revert back to a previous state or setting. So we have our test page here. I decide I want this text to be centered. We'll go over here to Style, and then you have a ton of different options. So dimensions and position, and then we'll scroll down to Align Self, put that in the center. We have this container here because we want a space between this and this card. And then the title, we would change to new, let's just say new element. And then we have content here, click Control A, and put this is new content. And then you have a label here for, we'll just put slider. And when we click Save, essentially this has compiled the bulk of the new code, so to speak. At least it saved the changes. We can actually do that compiling later. Now, a couple things I want to note. So when you have these elements, they only do what you specify or tell them to do. So this just being a title means it just sits here as this text, and that's it. When you have this slider, although it would look like it's a volume slider or it zooms, like to increase the page or the size, it doesn't actually do anything because you haven't told it what to do. So there is a logic section down here which allows you to change what this does. So what I do want to explain, and one of the things that I love about AppGyver, I'll say it again, is down here, the learning section. So for anyone watching this video, because I don't want to create content on what they're already teaching you to do, I'm basically just giving you a rundown of what this platform looks like. But all of these videos actually tell you exactly how to do everything you're ever going to need to do. So building out this app so far, as you can tell, I've only technically used about 20% of the quote-unquote learning for the second section. So I'm still not technically utilizing everything that this application would be capable of. But what you do is you'll start out with this page. You'll click this. It'll take you to a video. Usually they're between 2 and 5 minutes. And then it'll actually tell you to do what you did in the video. For example, insert a text box or add a slider or whatever the case may be. And once you do it, you get a tick for 20% or 10%, depending on how many videos are there, basically saying you are this much complete or this far ahead with the learning progress. So I officially added components, previewed on the device, changed the text content, but I did not just watch the video. I actually completed the action to show that I know what the content is, which is the great thing about this platform, is it walks you through everything. So I would highly recommend running through all of those videos because this has so much functionality that you could be missing out on if you don't know everything that's there. So what I'm going to do to give you a very, very general understanding of how the flow and the logic works, we're going to click this, and you have two choices. I want to delete this slider, so we'll click on Properties, and we'll scroll down, and we can click Delete, or we can click the X that pops up right here. Now that that's deleted, I want to add a button that takes us from this page to the home page because I don't want to be on this page anymore. As a user, I drag the button over and it puts it here. And with every element, there is a properties and style section. So we'll click button. You can change the style right here. We'll change this to home. We'll click style. And you can scroll down and we'll decide, do we want to change background color to, let's just say red, or we could make it a light green color. Do we want to change anything else? The text alignment, font, we can change the font to something different. And you'll notice these are very, very minor changes. And then you'll have tons of other options here. Once you're satisfied, and I know this color scheme doesn't work, but this is again just for learning. Now, how do we make this go to home? That's kind of the great thing about AppGyver is it lets you do everything yourself. So we have home, and we decide, you know what? I actually want this to do something. When you click on the button, you'll notice down here it says Show Logic for Button 1. When you click this, this is going to be your logic container, so to speak. So essentially, you have Event Component Tap. This is the button. But what happens when you click it? Absolutely nothing. So over here, you have all these different logic functions you can add, which just shows or gives you a little bit of an idea of what you can tie things to. So we'll use Open Page, and you place this wherever, and then we're almost there. So basically, these two events are here. How do we get them connected? You'll see these little bumps. You'll click and drag, and then when you see this little blue bubble pop up, you'll let go, and it connects the two. So it's basically saying this goes to here, but this isn't really a value or a function. Nothing's happening. So we'll click here on navigation, and you'll see it's going to open page. And then you'll see over here you have inputs, and we can decide what page we want by clicking the page here. And here you're going to choose from pages that you've already created. These aren't just random pages. These are pages I've actually already started building. And we'll click home because that's the home page that I wanted to travel to, but you can choose any page you want to navigate to. And then we're going to click save. And once we click save up here, those changes have taken effect. So essentially when you have the event component tap, it flows to navigation, open page, home. Now, as you can imagine, you can put tons of different things here and link different logic flows because there are so many different things. If you think about the most complicated app out there, there are so many things going on in the background you don't know about. And the beauty of AppGyver, again, is it allows you to kind of create that and visualize what's actually happening. So we're going to minimize this. Now this home button actually takes us to the home page. And then if you wanted, again, you can add additional elements. If you want to create a background image and then a scroll bar, I will tell you that there's a great video on AppGyver's website to explain how to do that, because if you just drop an image in, you have to explain essentially to the program when you're scrolling, does it stretch the image? Does it pan over the image? Like what actually happens? And there's an excellent video, and honestly, AppGyver has a great community for explaining how to do pretty much anything you could imagine. But let's just say we want to go to navigation, or we want to go back to the home page. You would typically think you would go to navigation, but you actually go up here under your app name and click the page that you're currently on. Here are all the pages you have to choose from, and we'll just go back to our home page just to see what it looks like and what is where. Now you will notice that we created a new page, but it did not show up in this little tree right here because these are all buttons that I dragged in. They don't automatically update, which most codeless application platforms do. They'll automatically add a link to the home page when you create a new page. If we wanted to add a link to that page, we would actually have to go back to essentially creating a button, dragging it over, and doing that flow logic like we did before, and then linking it in order to make that work. So once you go here, you'll actually see all of the different pages, and you can click on them, navigate between, but if you make a change at any point, you do have to click save before you can leave and go to the new page. Really, the only other thing is just remembering that you do have the navigation bar and menus that you can enable or disable. But most of the properties you can change, you just have to find them. So we're going to go ahead and click save. And then I'm going to run through how to actually publish this application. And bear in mind, steps will change as requirements change for different application platforms. But essentially what we're going to do is we're going to go to launch, and then we're going to go to distribute and click open build services. Now, if you've never created an app with them, it's going to say history is empty on all of these options. So what we're going to be doing is, I haven't created one for iOS yet, and that's primarily because you have to pay $99 a year just to upload the application, and I just don't foresee that being a need right now. You can do it for Android or tablet, which will allow you to download the APK file, and then web app, which will allow you to download a zip folder, which you can publish to an actual server and link to it, or it'll actually allow you to create your own, for example, www.myapp.appgyver.com URL, and then you can actually create or buy a domain name that links to that, so that you can type in myapp.com and it'll actually pull the information from the myapp.appgyver URL. But for this purpose, or for this section, what we're going to do is we're just going to click configure. Now when you do this, you do actually have to create something called a key store file, If you need help with that, you can look it up online. You can use Android Studio. There are other programs you can download to create that. I'm going to skip that page because it does show your key store file password, and it's typically better to keep that information hidden. So you would click configure, and the first couple options that'll pop up, it'll allow you to import your key store file, which you need to create first, which honestly is not that difficult. You can just Google how to create key store file and follow the steps. You'll type in the key store password and the key store info, and then you'll click next, which will be down here on the bottom right, and it'll bring you to this page. So that was the key store. Now we're at bundle settings. Now we're going to click save and next, and then you're going to see that we have the icons. I'm choosing default icons for everything, but you can look up what each of these icons represent. I found this, it's almost like your, the best way to explain it is like your typical Creative Commons website for icons, and I just bought a couple. So I bought these for commercial use, but you can upload, and just bear in mind, you just have to adjust the size to make sure that the resolution is exactly 200 by 320 or whatever the specified amount is. You'll upload them all, click save and next when you're happy. Choose what permissions you need. I'm not choosing anything because really I just need the application to open, and that's it. I don't need to record audio or really do any of this, but if you want to add something, you'll just click it and it'll bring it over to included permissions, and that lets the users know what your app actually requires to be used. You'll just click save and next, and then you're going to click build. Here you'll have your display name, version code, and version name. Once you're done with all of this, if you click build, it'll tell you if there's an error, but you do have to click client runtime version, and then let's just say version 1.0.10, and we'll click build. And then right here, you'll see status created. If we refresh the page, you'll see it says status queued. Now, this usually will take anywhere from 6 to 10 minutes, but it is actually building and compiling the code in the background and then allowing you to download an APK file. So it could take longer. It depends on what's going on at that time, how many people are actually doing this on the back end, but you will get an email telling you application was queued, and then you'll get a second email telling you when it's completed. When it's done, literally all you have to do is click download, and then you will get your app dash whatever the number is standalone build APK. This is literally your APK file built with your key store file, essentially built straight into the application. So when you go to, for example, the Google Play console and actually publish your app, which mine is pending right now, so you'll be able to see it in the Google Play Store in the next couple of days if you just look up Surface Level IT. But you would literally just drag this APK into Google Play Store, and once you get to a point where you've actually created your account, and it'll literally allow you to upload the APK file, and you're done. Like, you didn't need to know any coding or anything else, and creating a Google Play account for developer purposes, it's $25 one-time fee. You can literally upload your APK file in. You will get a couple warnings about different things about code, but I was able to upload my file for this to Google Play without any issues. So it's a great platform. Again, you can do your own web app, you can do your own iOS app. Uploading to the Apple Store is a little bit more difficult because they have a ton of other hoops you have to jump through. So a lot of this video is pretty much just me rambling about different features with this program and what options are there. To be honest, it would take hours to explain everything that they can do. So my biggest recommendation, you're not going to pay anything for this at any time. You never have to put in your credit card information or anything like that. So if you're looking for, you just want to create a very, very simple application or even something more complex, using a program like this, it will require a little bit more knowledge as to what all these different features and functions do, but it is very, very worthwhile considering most mobile app development platforms that are codeless can charge anywhere from $10 to $50 or $60 a month or more on top of what you have to pay to get the app in the App Store. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to drop them in the comment box below. This just provides you the basic outline of what this service is. And again, as it's completely free, definitely thought it would be worth sharing with you guys. Feel free to drop any comments below, ask me any questions. And again, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe and check back in for more content. I'll see you all in the next video.